There you go. Oh, hi, Jesse.
How are you?
Oh, great. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Great. Nice to see you in person. So, virtually. Anyway, Jesse. So, welcome to Tama's podcast. Can you please fully introduce yourself to us?
So I'm Jesse Williams. I'm a director working in Brighton, a film director, I should say.
Oh, film director. Nice one. So, how long have you been a film director?
Um, I've always been interested in films since I was very young, um, from the age of about 3. But I didn't start working as a director until age 13, when I directed a film at the London Film Academy, just a short film. Um, I then continued that while I was studying at sixth form, um, and continued studying film as film studies too. I now study at Screen and Film School Brighton, um, and have continued working as a director, really.
Nice one. So, how many films have you produced? You would say. Do you know how many films you have produced so far?
I've directed 2, 3, 4, 7, and 4 at Screen and Film School. I haven't produced any of them, unfortunately. Um, I'm very much a director, not a producer. I'm not
No,
very
sorry.
good with
No, my
producing.
question wasn't. Yeah, sorry. I
No,
should
that's
have.
okay.
Film you director. That's quite impressive. I don't know what to say. I mean, what type of films do you direct?
Um,
What genre?
I like to think of myself as quite open to all genres. Um, I'm currently working on a folk horror, which we've just wrapped last week, and we're starting on a noir film next week. So I like to think of my career as fairly genreless. I like to explore all genres. I've kind of dabbled in sci-fi, coming of age. I don't really discriminate genre-wise. I like all of them. But I do have kind of common themes. I like representing the underrepresented a lot. That's something that usually comes up in my films. Um, I like looking at maybe people that society ignores, looking at social issues. The LGBT community comes up a lot too. Um, so those are kind of the themes I touch on a lot, but I don't like to think of myself as a genre filmmaker. I don't only work in horror.
Oh,
For
that's nice. So that means anyone that comes to you with a project, you're open to any type.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. We need more people like that. It's not just about what you like, it's about, you know, how you send a message. For me, that's how I think film should be, the message you want to transmit. That's
definitely.
fantastic. And I wanted to ask you, so have you only, directed in London, or have you been invited to direct in other places?
So I'm from Bedfordshire originally.
Okay.
So back in Bedfordshire when I was making films, that was just me making those films. I didn't have a community around me that was helping me, or it was really just me and a camera, and I'd put together something and put it on YouTube. But now I'm in Brighton, which south of London, on the south coast. Now I've got a amazing community. I'm part of a production company called On Bright. Um, they're absolutely incredible and are so helpful. So I make most of my films through them or the film school, or both sometimes. So I usually create films down in Brighton. My most recent film, Rebirth, which is entering pre-production now, post-production, sorry. We just wrapped on it last week. We actually shot that in Brighton and Bedfordshire. So we all travelled 2 hours by car up to Bedfordshire and camped overnight in a field. So we could shoot
Fantastic.
there. It was lovely. So I've never shot anything abroad. It's always been within the UK. I'm quite a enthusiast for British cinema. Uh,
Mm.
I don't see myself ever, if the opportunity ever arose, I don't see myself ever going to America. I'm sure I would take it in that in that scenario, but I am passionate about remaining stuck to my roots and helping the British, um, cinema movement keep going. If I ever get the chance, I really hope I do, because British cinema is like my love. I adore it.
No, of course, you're totally right. So I wanted to ask you, are there any directors, British or non-British, that you really look up to, that you'd like to meet one day?
Yeah, absolutely. My number one is Celine Sciamma.
Don't know. Okay.
Directed Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh,
Um,
no way.
yeah, Girlhood as well. She did, and Petit Maman. Um, her films are like my absolute aspiration. If I can make any film, it would be a Celine Sciamma film. I feel like the things I look for in cinema are the things that she makes. Um, I don't think she's ever stepped a foot wrong. She's never made a bad film, which is incredible. I love David Lynch a lot.
Um,
Massive David Lynch enthusiast. To meet him would be like meeting a god, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, who else? Mark Jenking is a British filmmaker. He works in Cornwall. He's a bit of a hero. I've already met him. Met him at London Film Festival. Was really lucky to attend a Q&A with him, um, and spoke to him afterwards. But he's a bit of a hero for me. Uh,
Oh,
those are
what,
my
what,
three, I'd say.
how does it feel like to meet your hero like that and ask question afterwards? Tell me, how was the feeling?
It's quite surreal, I'd say. I mean, I'm quite an anxious person anyway, so I found myself kind of overcome with nerves almost. But he's such a friendly person, and he operates in such a niche scene. Cornish cinema isn't something that's thrown up a lot in Hollywood, and he's found a almost cult audience. I know Mark Commode has kind of sung his praise a lot. Um, so it didn't feel too intimidating, because I know that he's very in touch with his roots. He's very humble in a way.
Mm,
So I didn't feel intimidated at all, but
mm,
it was very inspiring. I did talk to him, and I said, his film Bait from 2019 was something that really struck a chord with me. It's one of the things that got me into filmmaking. Um, so I told him that, and he seemed really, you know, happy to hear it, and really encouraged me to keep pushing, keep pushing my films. And I often think about kind of the things he said to me. It's very motivating, I think.
oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about obviously the challenges to work in the industry, because I've met so many challenges that I have to say I give up a little bit, but hopefully I'll come back to it. So what are the main challenges for filmmakers to actually make it?
Oh, there's lots. I mean, it's a big industry. I think once you start moving into it, you realize it's not quite as big as you think it is, but it's still huge.
Mm,
Financing. Not to get too political, but we don't have much financing for the creative arts at the moment in the UK.
yeah,
British cinema is looking to be more hopeful, hopefully soon, because we've got some new tax cuts that help the British film industry. Um, but I mean, funding is the big one, I think. There just isn't enough money going around to
mm,
give indie cinema the chance that it deserves. And I know this is always a problem in so many countries, but it's in a particularly dire state at the moment. The BFI do their absolute best, and God bless the BFI, but there's only so much money going around, and generally I feel like there's a mindset of distrust in maybe the younger generation of filmmakers,
yeah,
um, which is completely unjust. There's some amazing works of art recently, especially British cinema, actually. I think All of Us Strangers and After Sun were two massive films recently that proved that young British auteurs can do it and deserve that funding. And I'm sure we'll see the results of that soon. But generally, yeah, we're just underfunded as an industry. I think the industry is looking up, it's looking more inclusive, it's looking to maybe have some new rules based on the strikes recently, of course.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's looking up, but there's so many challenges. And I'd say money is always the biggest one.
Yeah, I've spoke to a friend of mine from Switzerland, and he said that for him, what he doesn't understand is that Switzerland, considered one of the richest country in the world, do not have money in place for filmmakers because for them, if it's not into banking or business idea, cinema is like the least priority. So he said that that's the economy, I think, is the main issue as well. I think it's everywhere, even any country. I think that's the main issue. But let's talk about the British cinema. So can you tell me what you think is the British are so successful, like actors, directors, producers? How come we as a country, you know, have that success? Why do you
Um,
think?
that's a tricky one. I mean, I think every country has an artistic core, and I'm a big fan of British cinema, mostly because I'm British myself. But I look at Korean cinema and French cinema and Italian cinema, and they're all amazing. I don't think we are better than other countries, but I do think we have um, a historical background in literature and theatre, that maybe makes us thrive when it comes to filmmaking. I think this happens in a lot of global cinema, but there's a tendency to work with smaller budgets that creates a charm. Um,
Mm,
it just makes the decisions you're forced into by a lack of money um, can make you stand out.
yeah.
And maybe some American films that are have a bit more funding behind them don't ever come up with those solutions because they never need to. Uh,
Mm,
the American indie scene is amazing, by the way. I'm not saying that they don't work with little money. They do, but I don't think we're better than other countries necessarily. I just think um, there's something special about British cinema to me.
mm,
There's a heritage to it, and a problematic heritage a lot of the time, but so many great American directors, American actors were British, or migrated from Britain when the golden age began. And to be fair, a lot of Spanish and Mexican actors also moved over. So I really don't think it's a British thing. I think it's global, and just all underfunded industries work harder and usually end up with more amazing results. Um,
mm.
if that,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because for me, I don't know when before I came to live in the UK,
yeah,
I remember Ridley Scott, Nick Bromfield. Those even before I thought about studying cinema, I feel like I was exposed to the British cinema very young, and I loved. There was something for me special about it, and that specialness they have sort of like make them global, because you have them acting in America, directing in America, but not just there, but even other places. But you're right, there's something special in every places. I mean, cinema is one language.
yeah.
What message are you transmitting? That's the main thing. So is your family supportive of your occupation, of your passion? Are they very supportive?
Yeah, my family are amazing. So my dad is an interior designer, but he's also he paints a lot. He studied art and lectured art at university. Um, he's also a musician too, so he's always been incredibly behind cinema as an art. We always go to the cinema together. We watch films together. My mum comes from a less artistic background, but she chaperones my sister who works in theatre.
Mm,
So they're both in a similar world in a way, but they just love it. They always try to get involved as much as possible. My sister's been in a few of my films. Uh,
oh,
on that recent shoot that we've been on, where we went up to Bedfordshire, my mum covered all the catering, and my dad drove kit around. So they just want to get involved, and I just have the most amazing parents, really, and they really back me and believe in my vision. I think they're kind of my number one fans.
That's
Which,
fantastic. And that's you're so lucky.
yeah,
I mean, privilege, I should say.
yeah,
The togetherness, the connection, the support is fantastic. Your sister playing your films, your dad going to watch film with you, your mom catering. That's fantastic.
yeah,
You should, I don't know, but you should do something together.
yeah.
Production company one day.
I'm grateful, so
Yeah.
grateful.
Oh, fantastic. So my final question to you is that what would you say to young people that one day want to get into the film industry? What would be your main advice for them?
Um, I think before I get too specific, make stuff in general. Um, just make it. Just see how it works. See what fits. The amount of people I've met at film school that didn't know what they wanted to go into, and then they just tried something, and it stuck. Or maybe it didn't, and maybe they tried a different role, and then that stuck, and they realized maybe they came in expecting to be a writer, and they came out working in lighting. I work in lighting too, alongside directing. Never thought I'd enjoy lighting, and lighting's always been the spot I've never thought about much. And now it's all I think about.
Mm.
So make things, and things will become apparent. I think you'll realize things, um, and you'll fall into different passions under film. Um, but also start small. I think don't throw yourself in with a sci-fi epic that I don't know is 6 films long. Don't start there. Start
Mm.
with a 2 actor scene in one room. Just start small and think about your runtime. 3 minutes is more than enough for a first film. My first film at Screen and Film School was called One More Song. It did really well at festivals. We kind of got nominated for a few awards, and it really struck a chord. And I think the reason why is because the time limit was in the film. It's set between the final song of a concert set and the encore song, so it has to be fast. Everything has to be snappy, and then people watch because there's no moment where the pacing is too slow. Um, there's no feeling that it's overstaying its welcome. So work around a time limit, I think, is a really good mindset to bring to maybe your first film. Keep it short, keep it small. Don't go too big because you will get lost in it. I've done the same. I've tried to go too big before and had to scale it back because there's only so much we can do with certain budgets, with certain skill sets. Truthfully, if you haven't made a film before, you're not going to be ready for a 6 film long sci-fi epic, you know?
That's true. Like basically, keep it short. It's not about how long, because otherwise you get lost into it. But what is the specific thing that you want people to know or to see? So yeah, so keep it short. Start small. I feel that's a very good advice. Thank you so much, JC. I hope one day I can go to one of your premiere of a film or even
Yeah.
meet you. I think you're doing great. So keep up the excellent work. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Great to
It's a
speak.
pleasure. Nice. Thanks to speak to you too.